And this is why, even though in your state, legally to drive, only have to have liability and you only have to have state minimum. So do check with your state what that minimum is. But a lot of time, and Christy would agree with me on this, a lot of time the minimum requirement is so minimal. That's why they call
So low.
minimum for a
It's so
reason,
low.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, in Tennessee, it's only 25,000.
Yeah.
So, with Christie's example, 25,000 isn't going to go very far if that person had to spend maybe 2 or 3 nights in the hospital.
Hmm.
Maybe there was another passenger in that
If that
car with that
right, if they
person.
have to, if they have to have any kind of diagnostic test to determine the extent of an injury, it's $10,000. It
Jesus.
just is not going to go very far at all in a minimum situation. So you really need to take a look at what it is that you have accumulated. You work hard and you're doing the right thing, saving your money. You want to protect those assets that you've accumulated, as well as your ability to keep doing that in the future, right? Because we talked about garnishing wages. So um, they can garnish your wages for, I think you said, Tanya, and this was news to me, actually, up to 10 years.
Up to
That's
10
a
years
long time.
and up to 25% of your after tax income. So, whatever you take home or you and your spouse take home, that's definitely at risk every time you pull out the driveway and drive to work or drive to the
Mhm.
store or drive to
Mhm.
your kid's soccer game, right?
Yeah.
So that's why liability is super important. And now, when you sit down and do some napkin math and figure out how much assets you had accumulated over time or how much you have now, we recommend that the good rule of thumb is to select the amount of liability limits that would at least cover the total value of what you have now.
Right.
That's our rule of thumb that we want to go by. Now,
Yeah.
Christy, um, even if I have, let's say, $100,000 in asset, do I have to pick $100,000 in liability?
Everybody's got a budget to manage too, right? So that's the choice that you have to make. Obviously, the higher the level of liability insurance that you have, the more that's going to cost. Um, you can do things to keep that lower by doing things like protecting your credit and things like that we've talked about in other episodes.
Mhm.
But um, you just have to decide at the end of the day, how comfortable are you with being at risk if you're not going to choose a limit that does cover those assets that you've accumulated.